Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Nelson. I am the Communications Director for the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, and I am also the Chamber's liaison to the Green Flag Mesa Program, which is a partnership between the Mesa Chamber of Commerce and Mesa Community College. Joining me on this call tonight is my fellow liaison from Mesa Community College, Mr. Dan Piercy. Dan, would you like to say hi to the nice folks at home?
Hi. I'm busy typing to one more time to send everybody links.
All right, very good. Welcome to this series of webinars. We've got, I want to say four or five total webinars scheduled. We were able to do one last week. We have this one, and then we have 3 more coming up. So each of these webinars is focused in a different area to help our Green Flag participants. And tonight, I thought it would be great to have someone talk to us about marketing outside of the digital realm. So there's a lot of content out there about how to market yourself digitally, but there's still a ton of fun and value and just great opportunities in marketing yourself other ways as well. So tonight, I've brought with me the CEO of the Market Builder Inc., located here in Mesa, Arizona. Since 1992, Keith?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Sure, that's good. Okay. Since the early 90s, the Market Builder has helped people market their businesses a number of different ways. So, with that experience, it would be criminal for us not to have Keith join us and share some of his experience and some of the cool things that he's run across over the years through his work. So, Mr. Lawson, I turn this over to you. Thank you so much for being here today. It is both a pleasure and an honor to have you because I have always admired everything about the work that you do. So,
thank you very much, Bob. And Dan, thank you. Sally, great to see you. Thank you. As Bob mentioned, everybody's really into digital marketing. And what happens is that the old traditional way of direct mail has fallen by the wayside. It went 100% digital. And surprisingly enough, they didn't get the response that they were used to getting. So they decided to mix and do a little bit of everything, go back to the old traditional ways of doing things. And lo and behold, they started to see results again. So that's one of the things that is very important. With mail, you actually have that engagement. Somebody has to take something out of the mailbox and they have to decide, is it going to go in the recycle? Am I going to save it when I get around to it? Or is it just going to sit on the counter until it stacks up 3 or 4 inches high and then somebody throws it away? So somebody has to do something with it. And that's the important part. Direct mail actually sits around and has stickiness for about 15 days, where electronic marketing is here, gone, zap, instant. And it does have its benefits and it works very well. And that's one of the things that we've been doing over the past, about 5 or 6 years now, is mixing direct mail with digital to draw people to respond better and to be able to see and understand and recognize the branding that's going on between the mail piece and what they see digitally. So I think the simplest way in direct mail and the most economical way is a simple little postcard. So I've got some PDFs here, Bob, if I can. I'm not sure how I can show those. You'll have to help me out here.
So Keith, you should be able to hit share screen on the bottom now, and you can actually share whatever you're viewing the PDF in.
Okay. So now I have to pick my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Share. Oh, that didn't work, did it?
It did. It came up.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay, good. So you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a couple little postcards that are very economical, and they say a lot, and there's a lot involved with what's around. They're telling an entire story. So here's a good one having to do with dentistry. Now you got to remember that a client like this, dentistry is very interesting because they can take a look at getting a patient, and they've got to look at it as, oh, that was very expensive to get that one patient. It might have cost $5 or $6 to get one response. And you take a look at that and they say, well, gosh, you know, I mean, a pay-per-click would have been maybe the same amount or a little bit less. But then they have to look and say, you know what, over the lifetime value, I might take a look and look at it that way. So they've now created something that is going to continue on. And that's one of the things whenever you do any marketing, especially with mail marketing, always consider the lifetime value so that becomes part of your return on investment calculations. So anyway, here we are. It's a new patient specialty. Let me just click here. That's the address side. And then the other side is there just with nice, easy pictures introducing the person. This particular piece, all the pieces that I'm going to show you have actually come through the mail. So you can see here, there's a little bit of distortion that has happened in the mail, and that's quite common. We try and coat the sides so that it does get protected throughout the mail stream. Here's another one it's a little bit larger. This one is actually 6 inches by 11 inches. It's a really good attention getter. It sticks out. It doesn't, it really stands out in the mailbox when you've got a stack of mail. So this one here does a couple things. It shows you where their locations are. And of course, it's being mailed to close to those locations. And then here is what it looks like. So when someone drives by, they recognize it. And there's where we come into the branding and recognizing what's going on. They also show what areas they're servicing, and the list that it's mailed to corresponds with that. And that's something that's very important when you do any kind of mail. The data source and who you're mailing to is as important, if not more important, than what your message is, because you can have the greatest offer in the world, and if you're not sending it to the right person, it's not going to make any difference. So that's very important. And now this other card is a little bit different in that it's easy and it's free. So they're talking about what's free, what's you know, and you take a look at it, and it says here right at the bottom, right down along the bottom, you'll notice that your gift will support, and that's kind of important. And there's other branding here going on. And you also see that there's a website and a phone number. So they're in turn explaining right here what can be done. And they've got a nice picture that is very important to grab the attention of the recipient. And then when you look at the other side, you think, oh my gosh, I recognize that. That looks like a tax return. And so you can get to see that you do good, you feel good, and you reduce your Arizona state taxes. So there again, they repeat the website to draw you to if you want to check it online, and look into it further and understand more as to what benefits you can have. So this is one of the things that nonprofits have found. Mail seems to work extremely well for nonprofit and those type of agencies because of the feel good, and they can tell a story. I just got here. Here's one that is for an attorney. It's a simple business reply or a business envelope, nothing fancy. And then it goes right into a letter that's addressed and personalized and can go through it. And they're selling this particular product. So that's an example of something for a professional office. This one here is has to do with elections and policy. And so this is a 6x9 envelope, and it's talking about a year-end message. So it's a nice long letter, and it goes on and on and on. So you can see that that would be very difficult to get all that information if it was done digitally. But being that it's a piece of paper and they're receiving it in the mail and you open it up, you can read it. And that's one of the most fascinating things about the copy is that the longer copy actually gets a better response than shorter copy when you use direct mail. Now it's very important. You'll notice some other little features here where it's indented. And these days you don't really see much indent at each paragraph, do you? You don't see it when you do things digitally or on any social media. You don't see that. The quotes you will see, but the bolding you might see, but it gives you the opportunity to do that. And something that's very important when you're doing a letter with direct mail, you always have a PS. And you have that PS because everybody looks at the PS. There's a couple things people look at right away when they receive something in the mail. They see who it's from. They see it's their name. If their name is spelled wrong, they're going to notice and they're going to be mad. But they start here and draw in. And that's the importance of the layout and the design of the piece, going from left to right, top to bottom.
So I had a quick question for you.
Yeah, by all means.
So you mentioned early on lifetime value, and I kind of wanted to give you an opportunity to expound a little bit on that, because I think that may be one of the most critical pieces that differentiates a physical item from a digital item, right? Because we're so inundated with email, and we're so inundated even now with text messaging, and we're so inundated with all of this digital hubris, if you will. But talk about the lifetime value of, say, one of these letters, or what that can mean for your marketing, not just today, but ongoing.
Okay, well, so you say you spend $10,000 on, well, no, let's make it for a small business. You spend $1,000 on an direct mail advertising campaign, and you get a total of 5 people. So you've got to take a look and say, okay, what did that cost me? So let's just do that. $1,000 divided by 5 is $200. So that lead, that customer that you got, cost you $200. Now that's really expensive. And you got to take a look at that and say, oh, that is expensive. But now it depends on the product or the service that you're providing and the return that you're getting on that $200 investment. Now, say you're a nonprofit and that person donates $200. Well, gosh, it looks like you broke even on them. So the next time you mail them, lo and behold, they respond again and they give you, and I'll go through this on other slides, but they'll give you $220. And it only cost you $130 $50, or even if it costs you the $200 again to have them respond, their lifetime value will add up. And with nonprofits, it's a good 3 years or greater. And with most products like catalogs or other types of purchases that are done either online as well as catalog and in store, it can be as high as 20 years and counting. So you're building a lifetime value with that customer, and that customer came from a customer cost you $200, which sounds awful expensive. Does that answer your question, Bob?
It does. And please,
okay.
I told everybody if they had questions to go ahead and put them in the chat. So if somebody throws a question in the chat, Keith, I'll go ahead and just pop in and let you know.
Okay, super. So let's just, I'm going to switch over here. And one of the things that doesn't happen in social and digital, well, more in digital and email, and that is, if I send you an email and I send it to bob@gmail.com, and that's not Bob's email, he never gets it. But if I send Bob something in the mail and he's moved, I can find out where he's moved to, and I can have it forwarded, or I can get it electronically supplied to me so that the next time I mail him, I've got him at his right address. And that's what the post office offers as the national NCOA, National Change of Address. And a lot of people, when they move, they fill out this little card at the post office so they make sure that they get their mail. And even if they don't, the post office and the compilers can still record that has been changed. And that becomes very valuable because whenever you do a mailing, you always will have the latest updated address for the recipient. So as part of your data, that becomes very important. The other thing you can do with your data is make sure that you always have all of the data necessary that you can then anticipate and calculate who and what they will be purchasing. Now, I know for me, you can try and predict, you can have, AI, and you can say that, oh, I'm going to buy something, or the chances are. And in actual fact, that's almost impossible. Remembering that all data is always history. There's anything that you have recorded, that's exactly it. It was recorded. It was in the past. So it's very difficult to predict the future. And that's one of the things that, if you went to, like, say you stood outside of Walmart and you stopped somebody and said, here, what are you going into Walmart for? And they said, well, I'm going to be, buying something. And then you check them on their way out, check their cart. What did they actually buy? And those are the things that you really can't predict. I know when I walk into a store, I know I want to get a couple of things. So the same thing is when you take a look at a catalog, or you get something in the mail, or you see something digitally. So all the emphasis that's put on AI is okay. It's really just machine learning. And you have to take that in stride. And so that's something that when you're considering your lifetime value, as well as what you're doing in the way of marketing, you have to take a step back and be very cautious as to what you're offering, why you're offering it, and whether or not that's a good prospect for you. So that's the prospecting area that you need to take a close look at.
I have a question if you're open for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there and you've talked a lot about nonprofits in terms of their ability to respond to direct mail. Are there some other industries that you have found have been exceptionally receptive to direct mail?
Yeah, all catalogers. I don't know if anybody, if you're familiar, you get a catalog in the mail. Land's End is a good example. Cabela's is another one. Large retail stores. Matter of fact, even Amazon has sent out pieces in the mail. Google also sends out pieces in the mail because they know and they appreciate the importance of direct mail.
So there's I know there's one fashion-oriented business on tonight's call, and I know you mentioned catalogs. So talk a little bit about that piece in terms of, like, if you've got a clothing catalog or that kind of thing.
Okay, like that's a very good example of a catalog is clothing, because what you can do is you can actually, when you print the catalog, it can be individualized to that recipient. So what you do is you have in your data, you know that this is an existing customer that has bought something and they bought a sweater. So when you the actual cover of the catalog going to that person will show a picture of the sweater that they purchased, their last purchase. So when they see this coming in the mail, they look at it and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got that sweater. They automatically will open it up and continue to look through it, and they'll purchase something different or something else. And that catalog is going to sit around for at least 15 days. And because it's personalized, it gives that sense of warmth and security. So that's something that is actually, you know, a good example of the best way to personalize something. And you're not printing tons of catalogs, you're just printing small numbers and sending them out to existing clients. And then from there, you can then model that information and try and clone those same types of people, so that you know that a particular age group in a particular part of the town or the city or the street or the school would have the same sort of interests. And that then allows you to market directly to that defined group.
Thank you, sir.
Side-eyed.
Keith,
this
is Dan.
Yes, Dan.
Is there a particular demographic, an age demographic that you would say works better with direct mail? Like, I know I look at direct mail, but I know my kids don't. They just, if it's direct mail, it's in the garbage. Is there statistical analysis at all on that?
There is. The post office has done many surveys and white papers on it. And in actual fact, matter of fact, we have an educational institution that we do work for, and they have found they're dealing with high school students, and they found that direct mail is starting to work for them. They lost it for a while, but it's coming back because guess what? They don't get anything in the mail. So when they do get it in the mail, the parent looks at it because they're going to the mailbox, and they look in the mailbox and they, oh, how come you're getting a postcard or a letter from this particular school? Oh, I'm just thinking about going there because it's after post education. And now you've now engaged a parent and a child in talking about what they're interested in. So that engagement is now spreading, and that one piece of marketing that if it was done with social media or digital would have been missed by the parent probably, and there wouldn't have been that conversation started. Now, going through all the ages all the way through, it's what's more important is not the age or the demographic, it's the interest in what you're marketing to them and showing them. You need to appeal to them. And that can be an emotional appeal or a financial one. And that can then go to all ages. And and especially when you're like a food bank, for instance, when you talk about one of every in like 4 kids, one is hungry every night. And you take a look at that and you say, oh my gosh, that just doesn't seem right, you know, in our day and age. But now you're trying to appeal to the emotion and take it from there. And then you talk about families. And like right now, I've got, can you see that on the screen? That's an envelope with a turkey dinner on it. So you take a look at that, and here's the share the holiday with a hungry family. So this is going to a particular person that they have picked that has donated to them before, and it goes through, it's personalized, and they talk about various gifts and so on. And it's a signed letter. And remember, before I mentioned about the PS, well, they actually have a PPS, and they know how important that is and how that affects what's going on. So now, how much are these people going to give? Okay, they saw that, they opened it up, they've taken a look at it. Well, what are they going to give? Well, here's the response piece. And this response piece has 3 contributions there with a little tag saying, oh, it'd be great if you would do that. So you take a look at that and you say, well, where did those numbers come from? Maybe if this person gave $500 last time, why would you ask them for $25 and say 75 would be great? If they gave $2, why would you ask them to send 75? Because that would be great. That just doesn't make sense. So that's where a company like ours or any data-driven company would say, we've got to take a look at the history that we have in our data, and we have to say, okay, what did they give before? What's their history? Is it trending up? Is it trending down? Are they having trouble? Are they having difficulty? And they have given us $10 last year, and this year they only gave us $5, so they're trending down. Chances are they might be needy. And they can't give you as much. Or if they're trending up, they can. So that's where you you get the algorithms going to determine where your best results are going to come from. And that's one of the things that is very important. And we pride ourselves in what we do with those algorithms. They're all done with a lot of good math and good common sense. We actually had one nonprofit that didn't want to change during the 2008, 2009, 2010, and their donations kept on going down, down, down. And they were always asking for the same amount. So we suggested that what they do is they make it less, so that if they gave $75, that would be the maximum that we'd want to ask them for, but we'd ask them for 2 gifts below that. And sure enough, what happened were people were, well, I can't give $75 like I did last year, but I'll give them $25 this year because things are a little tight. So instead of looking at it and not giving anything, they got $25. So that's very important as you're going through that. Anything else?
So, no? Keith, can we shift gears just a touch? And shift to sources of data a little bit. So, and I know this is something that you guys, this is one of the core pieces of the Market Builder, is building databases for people of potential recipients. So the question that came in is, do you already need to know the addresses you want to send ads to, or is it based on area code, or kind of how does that work?
Yes and yes. Say that you, let's pick a product. You sell sunscreen, and you've got this really nice sunscreen. it's included with a lip balm. So you've got this, and it's a Lipsil type thing, and you want to sell that. So let's think about who would really want to have that type of product. And you say, well, let me see. Maybe if they were fair-skinned, they played a lot of golf, or they were outside a lot. They drove a convertible. What else? Does anybody have anything else that they could add into that as to why a person would want to purchase something from you?
They live in Arizona.
Okay, good, Jeremy. They live in Arizona. What else?
They have red hair, fair skin.
Okay, they have red hair and fair skin. So you gather up all this information, and now you go out and you find those particular prospects, and you can find them. You can find golfers in Arizona that have, now it's difficult, but you can have red hair. You don't always have to have red hair, but and fair skin. There are magazines that have subscribers of golfers in Arizona. So there's a one spot right there that you could pick and say, okay, I want to do that. So you can narrow it down, and then you rent a list from another vendor that offers similar products or complementary products. You can also do it just by demographic and pick an area and say, okay, this geographic area and the demographic area of those people has to be a certain criteria. And you can then get that from census tracts, all government information that's available, as well as other people who have mailed in the area. Something you may see as well with direct mail marketing is the co-op coupons, like the Valpaks. And you say, oh, well, you know, that is not quite as expensive because you're sharing. So if you take a look and say, well, okay, I'm in the pizza business and I want to deliver pizza to a 5-mile radius around my store. You can come up with that address. And the post office also has every door direct. So you can mail it at a very reduced rate of postage to get those people that are just in your area. And you can go with a Valpak, be part of a, where there's 2 or 3 other pizza joints. There's a Chinese place, and there's cracked windshields and everything else in that package. Or you can send it just alone with every mail, every door direct through the post office. So those are the different things that are outside of your control. Within your control, you have a list usually, or you build a list of your existing customers. Who do we have now as customers? And keep in touch with them. You can do that digitally. You can do that through the mail. Nope. Anything else, Bob? No?
Okay. There we go. Okay. So because I know that some of the people on our call have their own business, and so they've acquired customers through that work. What would you say are probably the key pieces of information that those businesses should either know or gather about their customers to be able to help connect them to products in the future? Like what would be 2 or 3 good pieces of information to know?
Simple: name, address, phone number, email, and then anything to do with the purchasing. Or you can also do to get information from someone who is a little reluctant to give you that information. You can offer a gift with a purchase, or an exchange. So if I get this information from you, I'll give you something. And that could be a coupon for a discount for another purchase. that would bring you back, as well as you could gather additional information. You want to gather as much information as you can that you would feel would be beneficial to better understand your client and what a future client should be. So really, it's unlimited. And with the software that we have today, take a look at Salesforce or any other CRM system, you're gathering lots of information, and it's easy to store, easy to keep, and easy to do any kind of query on to get exactly what you're looking for out of your data.
So not to self-promote at all, but what associations can an organization be a part of that would help them with information on potential people to market to?
Well, it'd be real simple. Like the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, they've got 1,000 good members that you could market to, especially if you're appealing to a local audience that you want to get attention to, and they have prospects, so you could then do their members as well as their prospects, and that would give you a very good area. You could then break it down if you wanted to just do it locally within a 2-mile radius or a housetop of your business or your what you're offering. So that's another just simple, easy way to take advantage of the information that's there.
So I'm just going to keep asking questions because, I can come up with questions all night long, as you know. How would new business, so, I know there's at least a couple of people on our call today that are very, very new in their business. And what would you say? They may not have a list yet. So they, obviously they may not have had a product to sell, or they may not have gotten to that point yet. What would you say they need to consider as they reach forward for that goal? So in other words, maybe I'm designing something that I'm going to sell, but I'm not to the point where I'm ready to sell yet. What things do I need to think about when I get to that point to make sure that when I get to that point, I'm collecting the data that I need? I know you mentioned CRMs and things like that, but what other good opportunities are there?
That's a very good question. You need to understand what your market is and who you're going after. And obviously you should have done that. As you're designing a product or a service, you must know that there's a need. One of the simplest ways to get to know more information would be to get a focus group, gather some friends, family, and say, okay, here's my idea. Who would be a good prospect for me, and get their input. And there again, the chamber or Green Flag, that's a good place to start to get that information where you got people that are willing to help you and engage in good conversation to better understand who really would like your product or service. Dan.
I do have a question. It's actually a question that Kevin asked, but I'm interested in the answer. Kevin says, does direct mail work equally well for business to business as well as business to consumer? My experience is business to business works, but only if you have a contact name. And it's almost impossible to get a contact name anymore.
Well, that's why he's right, and good observation. Contacts change very frequently at businesses. And so what we normally would do is we plop in a slug, is what it's called. And you've, on one of the other slides, it showed like our current resident. So you could say that you want this to go to Bob Nelson, Communications Director at the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. And if he's no longer there, someone else is going to see that. So Teresa's going to take a look at it and say, oh, I'll just give this to Sally. So it depends on the size of the company and the mailroom as to whether or not it's going to get forwarded. If it's a small business, yeah, it'll still get looked at and you still will get a response. Although I'll tell you one, we get things here at the Market Builder after 30 years. We've got people that haven't been here for 5, 6, 10 years, and we still get mail from them. And now that's very bad. When I take a look at that, I say, oh my gosh, they're not even willing to keep their own information up to date, and they're using old data. So that's why it's so important to update things as you can. And the best way to update things is to do questionnaires, send out things, your gift with purchase, or some sort of offer that you can get that information updated. The other thing you can do is send out a simple postcard, just a small 4x6 postcard. And the post office will tell you that person is no longer there. The business is, but they're not. So you'll get that information back. You can get that back electronically so you can update your data with the NCOA information from the US Postal Service. The same thing goes with if somebody's moved. So those are things just, you can update your information, and at the same time, there are lookalikes, there's read-alongs, there's pass-alongs. When you send something, say, to an apartment building or to an office building where there's numerous tenants, quite often the mailman will just sort of say, well, you know, they're not here anymore, so they just set it down on a counter in the mailroom or wherever, and then someone else takes a look at it, and it can get thrown away or it can get, oh, interesting, I'll take it from there. And there again, depends on the product or service. If it's something that person is extremely interested in, they're going to take a look at it, and they're going to keep it, and they're going to take and possibly place an order. Did I answer you? Yeah. Okay.
I had another quick question for you as well, Keith.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always have tons of questions.
Good.
But one of the things that I've noticed, at least that I've seen work for me as a consumer, like opening mail from my own house, is when it's more than like an actual envelope and some piece of paper in there. Like if there's an item, not even the thickness of a pen or something, to where it's like an actual item in there, like even like a little hand squishy thing. Anytime there's a package like that, you know I'm going to be opening it and looking to see kind of what it is in there. Is there like a common item or something that you've seen that's worked really well in that case?
We have seen everything from an additional envelope, something made of fabric as a sample. You're right, it's a three-dimensional package, and it makes that much of a difference in getting it opened. The other thing is, and let's see here if I can share my screen here. Screen. There we go. Okay, you see that? You see an envelope?
Yep.
Okay. Here's an envelope that you'll notice that this side is where it's addressed to. That's the back of it. So, Kevin, that's something that, now that was thick because it had a ride-along in it. It had a number 9 return envelope. It had the return advice as to, you know, like for giving, but it had all this information on the outside or the carrier envelope. So when you take a look at that, it's like, that's just a little bit harder to throw away because it's kind of colorful and interesting, and, you know, it's appealing. So that's something that makes a difference just in an envelope. And of course, if you send something that rattles, we've sent out boxes for clients with a bottle inside, or a dice We've even done a mailing for a company that put one sock inside of an envelope, and you open up the letter and it says, man, we're going to knock your socks off. To get the other sock, give me a call. It was that simple, but a good response. And of course, there again, like you talked about, it was squishy, the envelope. It's like, ooh, what's in here? And that's all it was one sock. So those are the types of things that you can do.
Yeah, in cases for you, for someone as obviously a consumer and a business owner and everything, when you get mail, is there any piece of mail that you've seen that like, oh my gosh, I should contact these people or I should reach out to them? What has won you over in your years of experience in this?
You know,
and then the second
suggest,
part to that was, is it usually like a cold call where like you know nothing about the business, or is it the businesses that you already know, like, and trust?
Something I've seen before. So that's where a good mix of something in the mail versus something digitally or something social. Going back to branding. If it looks familiar and it looks comforting, and I've seen it before, we do a lot of mailings for companies where we send a piece out in the mail, and then a week later, they do an email that has the same picture, the same appeal, and then their social media has done the same. So it's that repetition. Unfortunately, when that happens, it's difficult to attribute, why did the person respond? Did they respond because of the first mailing? Did they respond because they got an email? Did they respond because they saw it, you know, on Instagram or in Facebook or something else? Or it popped up in a Google pay-per-click. It's difficult because they all work together. And that's something that you need to always consider in all the tools that you have to market. You have to consider the tactical part of it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put something out here. Let me just add that to the screen, to the chat. Here's a bonus for everybody. You can register using that link. You can register with the Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association. They have a tactical marketing system webinar that's going to be on tomorrow. So, and it will be recorded as well. But you can register there for free, and that will help understand. I'm a past president of the Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association, as well as the Phoenix Direct Marketing Association. And those are very good resources that are informative and thought-provoking. So join my friend, John Migalash, at the Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association for that webinar. It'll be about an hour or so, well worth your time. So I offer that to everybody as a bonus. And that's something else. Keep remembering that in all your marketing, if you can offer a bonus, by all means do it. Free always sounds good. Money back guarantee sounds good, or unlimited, you know, and it may seem like, oh, I can't do that, but not too many people take advantage of it, and free still sells. Doesn't cost you anything, but it sells.
So, Keith, two things that I kind of wanted you to touch on before we close out tonight. And you mentioned this early on, but I kind of think it's important for you to revisit here at the end. And that is, you've talked about this for years, and that's the concept of round two. And I really appreciate the value of that sort of philosophy, because, you know, you describe it so well when you talk about it, and, you know, how it works and stuff like that. So just real quick, just kind of help people understand what that philosophy is. And then the last thing that I want you to reiterate is, and you've talked about this as well, is that marketing is always adjusting and changing and never just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I thought I'd give you an opportunity to talk to those two subjects.
Okay, well, there's actually one more thing I wanted to mention before we end it too. And the round to it is probably really cool because I mentioned it at the beginning with a postcard where the person looking at it, getting it in the mail, they look at it and they say, well, I'm going to just throw it away, or, oh, I'll give them a call, or, well, I might use this, so I'll get around to it. And a good example of that is we did a postcard mailing for a real estate agent that sold campgrounds. So they listed and sold campgrounds. So we're talking, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars and over $1 million in the way of a sale. He was only mailing out about 150 to 200 postcards every quarter. And he would mail them to a list of all the campgrounds that we could get for him. And he did it for 2 years, did not get any listings. And he decided he was going to stop doing the mailing. And the fellow who was doing his pay-per-click, Google pay-per-click, said, no, just keep doing it. It'll, I guarantee it'll work. So he did one more mailing. And he got a listing for over $1 million property that sold. So his commissions were enough to cover all of his expenses. And he asked for the code on the mailing, and it was one of the first ones that we had mailed 2 years prior. So there's something that was a round to it, where this owner of this campground got that initial postcard. Well, I'm not ready to sell. Why would I even want to think about selling my campground? Now I'm having too much fun. So they put it somewhere. I mean, it could have been just in a drawer. And then now and then they take it out and they, oh, no, I'm not ready to do that. But someday I might get around to it. So that's what we call the stickiness of around to it. The other thing that is very important is, and this is something that is starting now to catch on, and that is the QR code, the quick response. You've seen those, those little square things that you take a picture of with your smartphone and it'll take you right to a landing page. And it's like, we tried to work with that years ago, and it was just, it was difficult because you had to have an app and you had to, it was just difficult. But now it's common. You go into a restaurant and they don't want you to look at a menu because people are touching it, and you don't feel right in touching it with this COVID going on. So what do? There's a QR code on the table. You just take a picture of it and it takes you right to what? The menu. So you've got your own phone, you're looking at it, and you can now place the order. So there's something that works. QR codes are starting to come and be popular. Again, we've tried them in the past and it was, okay.
It didn't stick. Yeah.
But it didn't stick. But now people are saying, oh, yeah, I understand. Isn't that cool?
I saw an article just recently that said that 2021 was going to be the year of the QR codes, just because all phones are now able just to take a photo of it and it takes it there. And yeah, it's one of the digital marketing aspects of it, but it requires that physicalness of it too.
Right. So you see there again, if you send out a postcard, a simple little postcard that has a QR code on it, and the person looks at it, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, they can just take out their phone. They don't even have to snap a picture because I think Android now with 11 will automatically it'll recognize that's a QR code and take you right to that landing page. Now, digitally as well as print-wise, you want to make sure that it's very specific. It's a landing page that is tied exactly to where you want to take them to. I've hit and gone to QR codes where it's like, no, what are they talking about? That's not what you showed me a picture of a sweater and now I do this QR code and it's showing me a jacket. No, that's not what I wanted. So you've got to be very particular to make sure that that QR code is exactly where you want them to land. And of course, from a digital standpoint, you want to make sure that you record where it's coming from and all the Google Analytics that goes with it. So there again, you want to have a specific landing page that is unique. Just like a phone number on a postcard. Have a phone number that is unique to that one postcard. So if the person calls, if you've got multiple numbers, if it calls that number or they go to that particular website, you know exactly where the source code is coming from. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and Bob, you mentioned that, and that's testing. Everybody, you should always test. Matter of fact, direct mail marketing is one test after another, after another, after another. You can do it a lot better and easier with direct mail marketing than you can with digital marketing. Like I mentioned, the difference of a cover on a catalog or a sheet, you can do a simple A/B split. This person gets this catalog, this person gets another one. Back and forth, every other A/B, A/B, through the entire list of 100 people or 1,000 people or 100,000 people. Heimacher Schlemmer, they'll mail 2 million catalogs and they will do 1 million here and 1 million there. And they can tell you which catalog drew better in which geographic area. So that's very important data that they can use. Once you come up with a control piece, like this really does work, then always test against that. So A is your control piece. B is you're trying something different. You change the price from $7 to $6.99. Did it make a difference? You can tell. You can test that. You can know that. If your control piece is green and you send something that's blue, which one does better? And you can tell that. You can tell what's different. And if your test works better than the control, guess what? You now have a new control to test against. So you are constantly revising and testing as you do your marketing. So those are the three things I wanted to end up with. So anything else?
No, I think we're good, Keith. If you want to throw your email and contact info into the chat real quick, I don't know if you did already.
One quick question I did have for you, Keith, was cost.
Sure.
What's like a quick, easy number you could throw out for what the average price of it is if you're looking for just one square area?
Okay, say you're selling Rolls Royces. It would cost you about probably $30,000 for a good lead. You got that?
Right.
Okay, Kevin.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But okay, but you got a $10 pizza. That can go as low as in a Val pack for what, 10 or 12 cents. A postcard, 25 cents. It's just, it varies so much. Every door direct is probably the most inexpensive way to do it in a geographic area. A good nonprofit solicitation will run anywhere from 30 cents to no more than $1. And we have found that all the nonprofits that we work with always have a good return on their investment. Their cash flow is positive and the lifetime value is well worth it. Because with a nonprofit, we do both acquisition, retention, and when they go to expire, we want to bring them back. Like the chamber, when they have expired members, they want to get them to re-up and join again.
So I am going to go ahead and close out the evening, if you will. Keith will post his contact information in the chat, or if we run out of time to do that, I will certainly be happy to send it out to all of tonight's participants. But you can always find him by emailing me or emailing anybody at the chamber. I'd like to thank Keith for being here tonight. I'm always excited to have him because he's just this tremendous wealth of knowledge. And anytime I can get him to start talking about how valuable data and data marketing and direct mail is, he gets excited about it. So I always love listening to him talk about it because it's a great subject. So thank you, Keith, for joining us. Thank you to all of you guys for joining us today. Taryn and Kevin from Green Flag. Who else is Green Flag with us tonight, Dan? Anybody? Okay, so Taryn and Kevin, thank you for joining us from Green Flag. Thank you to everybody else that joined us tonight. Chamber member or not chamber member, always appreciate having people participate. You can watch any of the Green Flag videos or any of the other Mesa Chamber videos online at the Mesa Chamber's YouTube page. Certainly feel free to send us any questions that you have. Otherwise, I will bid you all a great evening and close us out. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Stay connected to Mesa Chamber social media, email newsletters, Monday morning message, and mesachamber.org to always know what's happening at your Mesa Chamber.